I can tell you that.
Awesome.
I don't know what the order is, though. I can't even remember who's doing what, but guess what? We got a show to go on. We got a show to put on, I should say.
We're going to talk about stuff, but I don't know who's talking what and who's saying when. And
so you're doing, wait. So I guess we'll do a flying boat, then Volkswagen, then eFlyer, then Ford Motor Company, and Rivian. How's that?
Amazing.
You know, it'd be better.
Boat, Rivian, and then which one are you doing? The second one?
Hold on, we'll talk about it when we get.
Okay.
Yeah. It's one of those.
eFlyer.
NVIDIA's new cards, though, those might be worth hanging out for. Have to check that out.
Yeah, the one I sent you earlier. Yeah. Could be a thing. I mean, you know, hopefully everybody who's already got one will freaking try to get one of those.
That would be nice. But as we know, in the world of technology, like we cautioned everybody, buy your stuff now because it's all gonna come to a head.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. Very much so, yeah.
Very much so. We got Roscoe in the house. We got everything else going on. I'm gonna call 10 seconds.
Good.
Because I like, as you know, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, everybody.
Yep.
How is everyone doing today? October 14th, 2021, Not Your Average Show. Mike, Corey, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Yo, what's up? Nothing much. Get coffee.
I needed coffee.
Good to go.
I needed coffee. I finished my coffee. I'm back on the agua.
First coffee a day. I don't always have it in the morning. Sometimes I just can't. So midday coffee sometimes is how it works.
I had my early cup of coffee this morning, and today I broke down. I don't normally have a second cup of coffee, but I was tired, and obviously you can see I'm not as clean and cut as I normally am because there's no water in the house again because they're finishing up the moving of the water heater back and doing all the other rough stuff. So I'm like, well, it looks like I'm gonna have to forego a shower for a little bit until this afternoon. So there's that. Smells great in here, though. No?
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm doing fine. Yeah, doing well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. We got so much to talk to you about today. We have, I'm doing this purposely slow to fill some time because normally we banter a little bit more, but guess we're not going to today. But
Nope. I mean, yeah.
there you go. So we got Candela. It's a boat manufacturer that Corey found that is actually producing a pure electric boat, and their sales are through the roof. And they're a really cool looking design. I would prefer to go boating over the next year and a half. Looking to purchase a boat would be fantastic, but this one really caught his eye, and we're going to talk about that. Also, this week, I think we spoke about the record-breaking Mira from Toyota that broke like a hydrogen record for a vehicle.
Yep.
And
yep, exactly.
We were kind of curious as to whether or not why we're not seeing the same developments across all manufacturers. Corey once again went out, found a great article. He's going to talk to you about why hydrogen might not be as popular as people think and some of the deficiencies, and also maybe talk about the validity of the article itself because lots of things could be misconstrued. All right, after that, eFlyer 800 by Aerospace, and I don't mean by Aerospace, I mean by Aerospace is the name of the company. Gonna take a look at that one. Yeah. Gonna take a look at that one. They're a refreshing design, and I do mean refreshing because it seems to me that they actually have a design that mimics some of the designs that are out there today, and they could make a really great entry into the electric flying aircraft market. One that they're hoping can break ground into the eVTOL market. So, or not the eVTOL, but the electric, or what the urban air mobility market. They looked at this one as possibly a proposal for that. And then finally, of interest, Ford and Rivian once had, I think there was a board member that sat on one of the boards between the two companies. Corey's going to talk to us about that because I guess there's some upheaval in information in that area.
Well, yeah, something just of note.
Yeah. Okay, of note.
Yep.
When somebody says of note, does that mean you just want to take notice of it, or it's just interesting?
I think, well, at least in this case, it's some context for Rivian and Ford's recent
Hmm.
events, because I mean, on this show we like to talk about what's going on now, but also how it could affect maybe how the market will perceive it and react in the future. Not just the tech side, but the finance side too. So that's why just some context. Yeah.
Context. All right, awesome. All right, so with that, there's some interesting stuff going on in the EV markets, and basically, I guess it's worth noting that Corey and I cover a lot of electric vehicles because, well, it seems to be of the age of electric is taking over as a power, uh, as the power of choice for the future, right? So when he sent me this thing about the boat, I was like, ooh, this looks nice. So without further ado, here we go.
Yeah.
This is Candela. They have a great boat. This comes from Electric, which is their or Electrek website, and it says Candela's C8 flying electric boat is already selling better than gas-powered boats, and it's quite a striking design, actually, and the way that this thing looks. It's fantastic
Yeah.
looking, very modern, got that trimmed up bow look. But you might notice at the bottom, there's these little things sticking out of the water, and this hull is literally not, and I do mean not, riding on the water. So this is actually a part hydrofoil. Now, one of the things that this claims is that this 28-foot pleasure boat has a very neat trick up its sleeve. Not only is it electric, okay, and instead of, relying on gas, it also has a silent thruster known as the C-Pod. And this C-Pod, they're touting as being like basically super efficient, and it's concealed underwater under this hydrofoil pod. And the other part of it is it's almost maintenance free, which is amazing. So if you know three things about boats that are usually part of the cost is every couple of years, boats require a great deal of maintenance. And the fact that they're touting this as being maintenance free is fantastic. The other part of it is that the boat, it has all the pedigree. It's got the looks. It's got the European sleek lines. It's got hydrofoil power. And one of the neat features is these hydrofoils actually retract into and out of the hull depending on what your selected speed is, which is really, really unique.
It's crazy. It's a transport.
Well, it's very Bond-esque in the way that they're going to go about having this boat, do the mission of boating. It's pretty. And so what's your thoughts? I'm going to run through some pictures here, Corey. So what's your feelings on this one as I show people basically the different modes that this thing is going to be able to go through?
Yeah, sure. So at least from my side, right? I do enjoy boating. I must admit, I didn't grow up on boats as much as like yourself, for sure. I do enjoy being out on the water. Obviously been out in the ocean and on a lot of lakes growing up too. So, but I must admit too, I'm not as much into the boating scene. I'm not quite as knowledgeable. So again, looking at it though, it does look quite appealing for some of the same things you mentioned. I know boats, so I've heard some people say that the happiest day in your life is when you buy a boat, and the happiest day is when you sell the same boat,
Yeah.
probably because of maintenance and hassle.
Or,
And stuff.
or they say it's just an open hole in the water to throw money into. That's the other one. So
Possibly. So I can see how this would be, and it is quite appealing, quite a nice look to it. And for the ability that, like I said, it can transform in a way, I'd say, the hydrofoil is nice for speed, but also efficiency. But the fact that you could, raise the pods up into the hull and thus get more clearance for low speed maneuvering and whatnot, that's pretty appealing. And obviously the maintenance side translates to hopefully less, as you said, dollars as well. So that's all appealing, and it's quite nice. It said, just after they unveiled the boat's design, they already sold 60 units. And to put that in perspective, they say that Scandinavia is the leading boating region in Europe, and the best-selling boat manufacturers in Scandinavia sell between 100 and 128 of this size every year. So thus they're way on pace to outsell everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's, and I mean, I will say too, caveat there, and I give it back to you, that Scandinavia is one of the big early adopters of electric power in general. So not a huge surprise. But yeah.
So what Corey's talking about is what they're calling basically their C-foil system. Obviously, everything's going to come from a C because it's Candela, right? So they have the C-foil on the C8 with a C-pod, which is kind of neat. But they've got basically this first introduction of the system is harbor mode, right? So this foil system is fully retracted above the waterline. So eliminates fouling on the front end or aft end of the foil systems. Then the next one that they have here is their shallow mode, and it protects the foils, okay, on the C pad for low speeds only. And I would assume that's for maneuvering and docking. Then there's the planing mode, and that's for extreme wave heights and for speeds of up to 20 knots, and it's reduced range. And then finally is the full hydrofoil mode, which is above speeds of 16 knots or greater, and that's for the longest range. Now, here's the thing. The boat doesn't have the greatest amount of range, but it does have an autopilot system that basically controls the hydrofoil system for you underway to smooth out the ride. Right now, that's really unique. And they're saying right now that the range on the boat itself is 50 nautical miles at high speed and a 2-hour charge time for a 3-phase outlet. Right, which is not bad. I mean, if you're talking about a day boat, which this is basically going to turn out to be a day boat where you can, go 25, 30 nautical miles and, maybe recharge and then maybe come back, or maybe an overnighter with the same kind of range, that's fantastic. There's only one knock that I have on the entire boat, and that's it. And it's the interior. I wish they would have done a little bit more on the interior, considering it's a day boat. But if you were going to go ahead and, I know they can make bigger models and ones that have greater range, and that's fine. But the interior is very, it's very future forward looking, it's very spacey, very gorgeous. I just wish they would have done a little bit more to give it maybe like a day head, or someplace to go to the restroom. Maybe they have it built in, or on top of that, maybe just a little bit more sleeping quarters that was divided so others could enjoy it. That's about it. But
I got a quick question for you. Again, somebody that's not quite into boats too. What shore power hookup is kind of standard? And I know this is European, so they're down here. They talk about the standard speeds and ampages and stuff. But I mean, in your experience, like,
well, most places have 240.
Would you be able to hook this thing up at a normal shore power, and how long would that take?
Yeah, most places have 240. I mean, boats, if you're going to have a boat that's usually over 30 feet and it's got an interior cabin, air conditioning, maybe a TV and things of that nature, you're looking at 240 connections. And those, you basically plug it right in and go. So I don't think there's going to be any problem with adapting some sort of adaptive charger technology, whatever they need. I'm sure this is going to be very Tesla-esque, where maybe you're going to have your own adapter. Now, here's the other thing. Because it's a boat and because it's 28 feet long, you could put your inverter or whatever else different power systems that you need to change, to convert whatever's local on the boat. Because, if it's only 150 pounds worth of, equipment, well, who cares? You're not doing yourself any damage here on a boat. Again, the only negative that I could see is the space of your...
what has anybody done it yet? And be interested to take a look at one.
It would be. Hopefully that stuff made it to the stream, because it just said to me the stream died, but then it came back. So hopefully.
Okay.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Electric boats are the next progression of everything else that we see in the EVs and the E markets. And again, this is going to be another one that enters into a marketplace that is virtually untapped as far as e-boats go. So it would basically be the Tesla of boats at the moment. The price is currently 290,000 euros, which I think would roughly convert to maybe 370 US dollars. Beautiful design. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Very Bond villain-esque. You really need if it was silent, because you would actually hear more water actually just, as you're going along the water, which would be kind of cool. But beautiful boat, beautiful design.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't have that noise. It's just the wind noise and the
going.
Water.
Yeah, excellent. So
very cool.
Like, subscribe, follow. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Okay, excellent. Your microphone is tapping. There is a bounce noise coming from your microphone.
Now?
There was, when you were talking before, I could hear like a little boom, da boom, da boom. Like the boom was actually tapping against something else, which is.
James in chat says, "Nope, lost you at not burning fluids."
Well, isn't that special?
Isn't that?
So basically, we have a defunct clip that we can't use. Oh well.
Segment. I mean, do you want to? Well, I mean, yeah. We don't actually know what it looks like. We can maybe do it later, I guess.
Yeah, well, maybe what we'll do is see if the stream stabilizes, and maybe we'll revisit it at the end, and then guys will see the magic of the fact that we don't have scripts, right? We don't. Here's what I have in front of me right now. I have a couple of pieces of blank paper, and the only reason why I have it there is because I got a pen. Because if Corey says something, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, I really want to remember that and come back to it in a minute," and I write it down. That's about it, unless there's technical information inside of an article that I can't remember. So
That's how the
the
magic.
the beauty of live streaming. The only other part is I closed all the links to it, so I'll have to reopen them. All right. Hey.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay, cool. You pick up the next one.
yeah, why don't you take it away at this point, and you can take on the article from Charged, and then we'll see if we're going to revisit the one at the end. By the way, hello, James.
I think we're going Rivian,
Huh?
right? We're going Rivian.
You want to do
Rivian? We'll
you
go
go
Rivian.
Rivian?
Yeah. See how the stream handles.
Okay. All right. Here you go. Wait. Let me get you set up, and you are go for Rivian and Ford. Have at it.
Cool. All right, so this next one comes to us from Reuters, and it's Ford Motor Company no longer has Rivian board representative. So basically, as you guys know, we've been covering obviously electric vehicles, and Rivian is kind of been in the news lately. I wanted to just bring this up to keep a little bit of context for all the positive and negative press going around with all the electric vehicles, just to keep an idea of where, again, also where all the dollars are invested and who's got oversight over what. Because we know Ford Motor Company is obviously bringing on their own electric truck, the Lightning. Lots of publicity going through for that as well, but also Ford has a 5% stake in Rivian Motors. And if you've been keeping track of the channel too, Rivian's been in the news lately. If you've been watching rocket launches lately and seen the Blue Origin launches, you might have noticed the trucks they rode out onto the pad were also Rivian trucks as well. So they are becoming more visible. So I wanted to bring this up too. So basically, the idea is that Ford had an executive, Alexandra English. She's the daughter of Ford executive chairman, one of the Ford executive chairmen. She was on the board at Rivian for a time, and then she left before they declared IPO. She was also then replaced. Actually, she was going back to Ford, so no drama that I'm aware of there. But she got replaced by the VP of Ford, Doug Power. But he also left in September. So it's just something to know that as these developments have happened over the course of these past few months, and then Rivian declared IPO, that Ford had pulled out. But they did say also, and actually just on Wednesday, a spokesman for Ford said that Rivian is a strategic investment. We're still exploring ways for potential collaborations with them, and they don't have anything else to announce now. So they haven't said they're stopping any of the tech from Rivian, but we know obviously Ford is not gonna go lightly and say that they want any competition for the Lightning. So it's definitely a strategic investment. I don't know. They said again it's not a transactional one, so they kind of I almost feel like top level here, they just want to know what's going on at Rivian. That's just me, man. I'm thinking I'm a Ford. We got the Lightning. We got, that's our baby.
5%.
Oh, there's Rivian. Let's invest and get somebody on the board and see what's going on.
5% will get you. 5% will get you so far, but
5% will get you in the door and hear what's going on.
Right, but the other part of it is they did say here in the article, they said that Ford executives had repeatedly stressed that the company's relationship with Rivian was strategic, but Ford's Lincoln division in April of 2020 canceled plans to build EVs
because of COVID.
Yeah. Okay, so now Ford has almost put $1 billion, $820 million on Rivian. All right, and that's extensive. Look, you're right. There's a lot of competitors in this market space. It's interesting to me that they even had this relationship. It kind of seems, like, is this a think tank move where they're thinking, okay, we've seen enough and we understand enough where we know where our technical advantages lie in the Lightning system, or do we have to go back to formula and the Lightning is just to stop the bleeding momentarily while we go back and refocus on our strategy for future truck design? I don't know. Interesting, though. Very interesting. It kind of makes me think, look, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody at this point could turn around, get a motor, batteries, put it in a vehicle design of today, and just say, this is our EV offering for the moment, just to cover market space, right?
Sure.
And then come back and really kind of reverse engineer themselves into a position where they get a Rivian, and they go back and they say, okay, this is our best offering now because we've seen what the competition has. I don't know. Is that something that they would do? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a question of, okay, do you want to be first to market, or do you want to innovate and maybe not be first to market, but risk that capitalization on, ooh, this is new, this is shiny, hey, we're the first. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of market first. Like, look, like Atari wasn't the first video game system out there, but they quickly had competition in Intel and not Intel. What was it? The Mattel brought out their Intellivision, right? And that was one of theirs. And there, everyone has got their first stake in an environment in a lot of industries where you thought this is great because hey, back in the day, IBM was basically the leader of PCs, and
Oh yeah. Oh
now
yeah.
there are so many competitors out there that you don't even think of IBM as being the first one on the top of the food chain. Same thing with the Commodores.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if this is like one of those moves where Ford's just going to go back and say, okay, yeah, we don't want to lose our market share.
Yeah, especially in a market that, as much as tech, how fast tech moves, it's just so
It
quick.
is.
There might be certainly something said to be first to market to capitalize on that new shiny factor, and then, like you said, maybe then go back and re-engineer everything and say, oh, this is the updated version, while everybody else is trying to play catch up.
It really makes, yeah.
Maybe.
It really makes you wonder what the whole relationship is there and how that's really going to move the EV market forward. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
Let us know. I don't know.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below. With Rivian being kind of, well, having some 4 people on the board. Well, did anyway before they declared IPO, right? So, and let us know what you think about, again, the Lightning versus the Rivian, at least in this case, as far as which one would you might prefer. So, but yeah, like, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill. Thanks so much for the support. Yeah,
Closing thought. One thing. We did a thing on that battery company where one of the co-founders of Tesla ejected, and he turned around and he's doing his own battery thing on the side, which might be using some of their battery tech. I'm wondering how many of these other moves we're going to see along the lines of people that are starting their careers inside of these great companies, leaving and going into their own private sectors of offshoots, using the same technology or similar technologies, but applying it to a different blanket field player, right? I wonder if that's something that's going to happen. I don't know.
In that field, they got lawyers on speed dial because they got to be darn sure what IP they have access to and what they don't.
Blue Origin and SpaceX, #1 on the top of the list between the two of them. But it just seems to be that these are the higher end cutting edge technology companies that might be suffering the same type of things that Silicon Valley went through, 35 years ago between Apple and Microsoft. Who knows? Just worth the conversation. That's all. I just want to add that as part of it. So.
Yep. No worries. Yep.
All right. Well, we got more to offer you today, and we're, obviously Corey and I, we have our roots in aviation, which is important to us. And when Corey brings up certain things that, it's funny. I guess I have to say this. Some days Corey brings up all the links to a show and we use all his. Other days I bring up links and we use all mine. Other days it's a combination between links and we go through things. And today he was just bombarding me with links, and I was like, I like.
I just saw a bunch of stuff. I was like, this morning, and the past few days, just saw a bunch of stuff that was interesting. Like,
I was like, I'll take it. But this one is really weird because it's not weird in one sense. But here, I'll kick it down the road. You guys can take a look at it.
Yeah, have at it.
So this is the one I mentioned at the top of the show. This is by Transport Up. This is the eFlyer 800 by Aerospace. Okay, Aerospace. So here's
it's the company's
by
called
Aerospace. Yeah. And basically it's a great looking design. If you're going to go in this direction, the King Air is definitely one of the most sought after, I would say, turboprop aircraft in the market. It flies very, very well. The guys that've flown it for a long time swear by it. And this design seems to capture and pick up this only in basically what I would call an electronic form. And it's looking to go all in that area. And this article said that it picked up its first airline, customer. Ooh, it was getting a little testy. And the thing is that we couldn't find an exact number that were ordered. We know where this aircraft wants to slot itself, which is between the 4 to 10 seat market. It does look like it's going to be very sustainable, and it's that it's taking an older style design that people are very familiar with and adapting it for electrical. It looks like, from the pictures, I can tell that it looks like they forethought flying into known icing conditions. They've also got on their side, and I do say this I'm quite excited about this. They've got an electric aircraft that's almost ready for certification, probably another year, which is called the eFlyer 2, which is going to enter the training market. Okay. Yep. And when you see a company that has this much to offer, and the fact that this is not their #1 project, but they've already broken so to speak, they've earned their medal in the fact that they're already trying to achieve like a certification with a different airframe. That means they've gained a lot of information on the background that they know that these other designs could be way more successful. And I guess the next part that I'm going to kick off to Corey is when you take something like this, which is already working on a known design and just improving on it and throwing an electric into it, what do you think their chances are of really getting through the certification process a little bit quicker and being a successful player in the market space?
Yeah, I think this is just a company we just haven't heard of. Actually, while you were chatting there, I was looking around at some of the stuff and found that they also have some. I don't know if they're there yet, but the KLM Flight Academy in the
Okay.
Netherlands is set to buy 14 of the
Hmm.
trainers from this company. So they're as far as European market goes, they're already doing a lot of stuff. So maybe something we haven't quite covered as much, but at least over there in the European market, they're already doing stuff with some big players.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting. Um, and now that they're in a short haul company with or partnership with the other company, basically Air 2E, that which is there's a lot of I think that in Germany. It's something to keep track of, but I still couldn't find the number of purchases that they had sold to Air 2E. That was what I was actually looking for. So, but yeah, as I said before, it looks like a King Air to me, tried and true kind of design, and the fact that they've getting what they say comparable legacy turboprop performance out of again electric power plants. It's great. It's perfect.
Right.
So, and as you said, they're already thinking ahead with again. You can see the looks like they're probably either maybe boots or whatever on the front of the wings for anti-ice. So yeah, they're looking at the long run, which is encouraging.
Yeah, and I think again, when you go after successful designs that really you don't tamper with things too much, like you put yourself in a much better position to be successful in a marketplace, right? You copy what's out there in existence, and look, that's why Tesla has things like the Cybertruck because hey, cars are great, trucks sell more. Once you've gotten yourself a successful platform, you just move it over to a truck, and it works. And it's kind of the same concept here. And I've looked at a lot of their information on their website, and there's a great video, and I encourage you all, if you really want to find out what they really have over the other people in this space right now. There's a great video at the bottom, I think it's of the eFlyer specs. And down here, they got another video where the actual CEO of the company talks to you about, it's by George Bai. So that's his last name. We know where the name of, Bai Aerospace comes from. He gives you some insight on their certification process on the eFlyer 2 and the specifications. And he says that basically we're taking a motor that's being redesigned. We had a test bed motor. We've now got the production one. We're working with the test bed batteries. We're putting the production batteries on board the aircraft, but they're seeing roughly 115 horsepower, which for a two-person trainer is phenomenal. It does the job just perfectly. And if they get the range out of it that they basically need, they're in good shape to land a training electric aircraft. Now, what does that mean for other people that aren't really familiar with what that means in aviation? That means that people that get certified in this aircraft and maybe get an E-type rating or something of that nature, well, that builds people into the stream of, well, when their dual engine comes out or twin engine comes out, maybe it's an easier step for them in the certification process to get that done on the FAA side and on the airman certification side if they decide to break out the category.
Yep, and on the same note too, I mean that cuts down maintenance costs for the training school provider itself. I mean, as we said before, maintenance on electric power plants, whether it's in this case aviation or like we said the boats just a few minutes ago with the electric boat we talked about, it's gonna cut down on maintenance hours required. And again, that we'll have to see how that comes through with the FAR. This is obviously European, but how the FAR talks about maintenance and all that, but. Yeah, that it seems like a win-win as far as again all the same stuff, getting the electricity to the airplane and all the infrastructure side.
Can I elaborate on that? But people may or may not know.
Of course,
what people may or may not know is that there's what we call lifetime limited parts on an aircraft, right? There's the airframe, there's the power plant, and in between both of those, there's lifetime limited parts. Like an airframe might only be able to fly, say, 3,000 or 4,000 hours before it has to go what's called an overhaul process. Okay. Basically, that means that the thing has to be stripped down to its barest components. The power plant, which is usually the engine, turbine, whatever it is, has to be removed. and then it has to
Mhm.
be reassembled, re-inspected, and the aircraft is considered airworthiness again, or airworthy again. Now, what ends up happening in this
Yeah.
process is, in some cases, there's lifetime limited parts, like maybe it'll be a bolt in the landing gear strut. Maybe it'll be the
Yeah.
prop itself.
Propeller.
Yeah. There'll be
Yeah.
parts that say basically after a service life of a couple of thousand hours, you literally have to toss it out. Okay.
Yeah. You have to destroy it so it can't be
Yeah.
used and toss it.
So in the annals of trying to figure out what that costs for your hour per operation on an aircraft, you have to figure that out in the long term. You say, okay, over the life of 2,000 hours, and it costs me a new prop every 2,000 hours. Well, I divest that over 2,000 hours, and I figure out that it's 10 hours, $10 per hour to run that prop because the prop is said
Mhm.
cost, and I've got to diversify.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
electric aircraft, when you don't have to replace cylinders, you don't have to replace, fuel lines. Maybe these engines can go 5,000 hours between inspections or even overhaul. Could be
Yeah.
massive savings. And the fact that you might not be able to overspeed or damage these engines as a student because you
Yeah. That was the next thing I was
yeah,
gonna
well,
say.
go ahead.
I mean, they're electric motors, right? So they are electrically controlled and monitored. Thus, uh, when you exceed a tolerance limit on an aircraft, whether it's airspeed or something
Mhm.
mechanical, such as like the engine or RPMs, there are repercussions, and there might be direct repercussions on the performance of the aircraft at the time. We would hope not, right? We don't want to compromise safety, but the knock-on effect, well, hopefully, we can get back. Somebody should report that, or in some cases, the plane reports you
Right, yeah, well,
in various ways. But that's all based on safety. But those costs add up. I mean, to not go into specifics, I know of an event where somebody started up a Bell Jet Ranger, which is a turbine powered single turbine powered helicopter, and the aircraft was in a state where the blades were unable to spin. They were fixed. They were in storage configuration, and so the engine started, but the blades can't turn, and they shut it down. I think a few seconds later, and that's a engine rebuild. That's a $70,000 rebuild on a turbine
yep,
for like 5-second
yeah.
mistake.
I
Ooh, so
I
things
was
can rack up
present for
quickly.
that event, I believe, but not an active participant, but I think I know the one you're
I
speaking of.
also just heard about
Yeah.
it. I did not have anything to do
Yeah,
with it.
it's really interesting because those things happen. Look, there's a lot of manual systems on many aircraft that, you know, operator beware. Even engines on certain jets when you're starting them, the FADAC, the engine control units can fail, and you could have basically what's called a runaway start or an overtemp, which means that the compressor starts to ingest fuel and it starts to basically start its process, but the turbine itself doesn't spin. And what ends up happening is that combustion chamber needs those turbines to spin in order to start the cooling process. And you'll literally melt the engine from the inside out if you
Yep.
don't catch an
Yep.
overtemp
Yep.
or a blocked oil line. So literally every time you start an engine, your hands up here on the starter, but you're looking at a screen and you're trying to, look at all the different gauges going up and down and the pressures and temperatures, and you have them memorized in your head because should the FADOC not be able to perform its job, you're the next failsafe before,
Yeah, you
yeah,
gotta do it.
before nuking, say, a $70,000 engine. So
Yeah,
at
minimum.
minimum, at minimum,
Minimum.
and the bigger the engines get, the more expensive they generally are. So that happens.
The more dollar
Yeah, more dollar
signs.
signs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of advantages to going into the electric airplane market.
Yeah.
It's just things that, from commonality sense, that you might not be able to draw a relationship to from, in layman's terms, if you're not familiar with piloting. It's just difficult. So, but great points, great points. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. This one I would be a suggestion to take a little bit more of an investigative look on your behalf. If there's something that you feel like that might be worthy of investment, this is a great place to start because these type of operators can get in at ground levels, and you can probably maybe find a way to make a couple bucks out of it. So let us know what you think in the comments below.
Yep.
And we'll keep an eye on these guys and see how their process goes with their 800 flying model. So, there you go.
Cool.
I always feel so weird when you
All right.
wrap up one of those. You're like, yeah, okay. All right.
Yep.
I feel
Okay, yeah, we're
Canadian.
good.
Not to knock on Canadians, but it's just like, there you go. All right. Anyhow, moving on. Are you ready for your next one?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So I will hand it over to Corey. He's going to talk to you about something that comes from Charged Magazine.
Cool. Charged
Hmm.
Magazine. Charged Magazine. So first off, a little bit of context here. This is about hydrogen as a power plant for hydrogen fuel cells and automotive vehicles. The actual article itself is a little bit dated, but I wanted to just revisit it because of our thing we just talked about a few episodes ago. We mentioned that that car that set the Guinness World Record for going 845 miles on just
Mm.
one hydrogen fuel cell fill up. And that got me just again on thinking about hydrogen again. And Mike, you even said, why are we not really looking at hydrogen more? And all valid questions, which I've heard before. So I did a little digging on some stuff, and again, a little dated, but there's some good info in here I wanted to bring up. And so here it is. It's from Charge Magazine. Volkswagen explains, and this is VW, why batteries, not fuel cells, are the right choice for passenger cars.
Hmm.
And I'll pull some things out of here, but I would want to tell you, Mike, there's another link I put.
Oh, got it.
That actually goes to the actual Volkswagen website. It's just a bit better to look at for,
Okay. I
for the people watching
don't know
the
if
show.
I have that one up.
Some bigger pictures, and it's right below on the Go Live. It's the next
Okay.
link
Fair enough.
below. It says battery or fuel cell. That is the question. So anyway, yeah, but moving forward with that, let me pull it up. So the basic idea is that hydrogen fuel cells was something that Volkswagen's been looking at as they were debating hydrogen or going electric with their fleets, and they got some studies done and basically determined that they were going to go electric is the idea. And we've already seen some of that stuff come to fruition over the past year or so, that they're obviously going electric. You haven't heard about Volkswagen doing anything with hydrogen cars. And so, some people may already know a little bit about this, but the idea I wanted to delve into it so, you guys as the viewers can have a little bit more informed idea of, okay, yeah, why are we not doing hydrogen? And so anyway, here we go with that. I will say there's been obviously some major advances in electric battery storage density, which you guys have heard us talk about before too. A big hurdle for really mass adoption of electric vehicles, regardless of type. But the main three things that they pulled out of the study was that basically hydrogen is less efficient as a storage medium than electricity is. Fueling hydrogen will remain the more expensive for the foreseeable future. So actually fueling the vehicle with hydrogen. And then also that generating the hydrogen itself is not the best sound alternative for renewable energy, which of course is a big pillar of Volkswagen going forward too. So, and again, I'm going to read just two short paragraphs. I know it's a bit long to just quote, or to read, but they really get to the heart of really what we're talking about. And so here is the idea. So, with battery-powered electric cars, only 8% of the energy is lost during transport before electricity is stored in the vehicle's batteries. Right. When the electrical energy is stored to drive the electric motor, another 18% is lost. So, depending on the model, the battery-powered e-car thus achieves an efficiency between 70 and 80%. So then if we compare that to hydrogen, so a fully hydrogen-powered e-car, the car losses are much greater. 45% of the energy is already lost during the production of hydrogen through electrolysis, and this is done on board the vehicle itself. And we can look at some of the pictures to again really get you to remember what electrolysis is. Of the remaining 55% of the original energy, another 55% is lost when converting hydrogen into electricity within the vehicle itself. So this means that the hydrogen-powered e-car only achieves an efficiency between 25 to 35%. And of course, this all depends on the specifics of the car and the model itself and all that. But so thus the overlying thing here to kind of sum up is the hydrogen car consumes about 2 to 3 times as much electricity for the same distance that a battery car would do. And we're not comparing this to ICE or internal combustion at all. This is just electricity versus hydrogen. But that's the main idea here with the study is that it's just as a whole from start to finish. And again, they also mentioned that at the time, mostly where hydrogen is produced is from natural gas production. So all the way from where it starts to where you actually drive in the car, again, it's 2 to 3 times less efficient than even electric cars.
It's interesting because you had mentioned something right off the bat. You said that most hydrogen comes from natural gas, right? And the difference, like, it's funny to me that every time that I was out flying the platforms out in the Gulf of Mexico, that I remember flying past the plumes that you would see off the back of these things are burning off methane and other gases. But now it kind of sits home with me. I'm like, oh, natural gas, hydrogen makes sense because hydrogen makes up such a small percentage of what our atmosphere is, right? Now, to look at the chart that you referenced, which basically talks about the efficiencies, and this is the best part, the well to tank that they talk about, what it takes to get it from the well, in other words, energy at the bottom of its resource in its form, to your actual storage tank inside your aircraft or a car or whatever the heck it is.
Right, right.
Yeah, that process gets a lot more complicated when you turn to hydrogen as a fuel source.
Yeah,
So with
it's
it didn't even
yeah.
dawn on me. Like I didn't even think about, oh God, it could be really difficult as a process. And well, there you go. I mean, that level of efficiency loss, what we're talking about, almost a difference of 55%. That's massive. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
So should we rejoice in the fact that that mirror went, 845 miles and broke a record on only 5 gallons of this stuff because it's so hard to get? Or should we look at it and say that's an anomaly that if we repeat this, we're going to be probably further up, the creek of we don't want this anymore later on?
I think we should. It's a few things there to unpack, right? Is to say that again, batteries themselves have got more efficient,
Mhm.
and as these battery these companies that are going electrification, whether it's Ford or obviously Tesla or somebody else like that, that infrastructure itself is only becoming more accessible to
Right.
everybody, and even in that same sense, that Tesla itself is opening up the supercharger network to other manufacturers in the coming amount of time frame. They've already mentioned that. So accessibility for people with electric cars is even going to get easier. So the whole part about just infrastructure difficulties with hydrogen is maybe even more exacerbated because it's so much easier again for
Right.
electricity. So obviously it's already more efficient, but also more accessible. Um, I mean, where battery density, depending on chemistry, is going to change depending on technology. You can only compress hydrogen so much and fit so much of it in there because it just
Well,
is.
we
So
know that.
I mean, you can make more efficient, electric motors to use with the hydrogen, but then you could still use those electric technology efficiencies in electric cars. So it's like, you know, I
Well,
don't
I
know.
mean, we could point to some of the things that, has happened with other hydrogen-based systems in the past, which the stability of hydrogen can it sometimes be questionable,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that too.
That
That
is
too.
that is one of
Yeah,
the other things that I think about because there's some things out there that maybe the stability even of the battery packs, lithium or lipo battery packs
yeah,
are
yeah,
also
yep,
not stable. I think it's going
yep,
to be like a
yep.
lot of conversations that are going to happen around this in the development of, because if anybody's ever had an RC car, you also know, or if you had a cell phone, if you break open the battery in the wrong place at the wrong time, like say a Samsung S7 at 37,000 feet, stuff happens that you don't like.
Yeah,
Matter of
yeah,
fact,
yeah. James said,
was that like the
James.
Hindenburg? I was alluding to the Hindenburg, but I wasn't going to say the Hindenburg. But yes, now that it's been brought out, yes, the Hindenburg is one. The other is that onboard aircraft for during passenger travel. We had in the closet of the actual airplane a special pouch that if your cell phone or if your laptop decided that it was going to start the thermonuclear process of lipo, boom, you put it in this special bag to prevent it from consuming, say, the aircraft. uh, you
Yeah,
know, fire.
fire.
Yeah. So there's that part of it. Look, and I've also hinted at, and I've said it a couple other times. You know, there's these people that have been working on these butane battery packs and other
Yeah.
versatile parts, which maybe we'll see now, maybe we won't. It's just great discussion. I wonder in the overall usage of raw materials what that means, if that will also come to play where people finally go, well, you know what? It's so expensive to make batteries because everyone's making batteries at this point, and we're running out of the raw materials, that hydrogen
Yeah.
becomes the alternate
Yep.
solution, especially for like long haul transport or boats, like they had mentioned in the article.
And we actually are in some other upcoming videos going to talk about
Yeah.
exactly that, the supply chain of electric batteries themselves. Further ways, I mean, we know lithium ion is where people are going, but we also talked about actually silicone batteries, and there's other things on the on the
Hmm.
horizon. Obviously, solid state and stuff.
There you
So
go.
we'll continue to elaborate on all these tech and let you guys know what
There
we
you go.
find.
Thank you very much. Cool.
Yep.
That was.
So thanks so much. Again, like, share, subscribe. You guys know the deal.
Let us know.
And we very much appreciate the support. Please let us know in the comments below what you think about, again, hydrogen versus electric. What's your preference? Did you know this stuff before? Is there something that, could expand that so maybe Mike and I should look at on the subject or not? Just
There you
let
go.
us know. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Mhm.
So do you want to go back and do the Candela C8 again, because we know we lost the stream in the middle of it? Stream has stayed stable.
I mean, James says it's actually gone, so we can try to rewind and, try to do it again.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's do that. All right, here we go. All right, so top of
So
the show,
yep.
just
Cool.
to lay this down for the people who are going to watch in the long format, you might have seen that the Candela actually just ate itself. The stream sabotaged itself. So I'm going to take the floor here. And I'm going to talk about it again. Again, no script, so see how this one goes. All right, Corey and I, pay attention to a lot of different things that are in the electric market, and like nothing else, you found this great article on this boat from the company called Candela, and they're making their version of the C8, which is a 28-foot boat that runs on, by all things, electricity. But not just electricity in and of itself that makes this boat so unique. This is actually a better intro than the other one. It's actually the fact that how it propels itself over the water, which is a little bit different of a design. And it's basically because this is a flying boat. And this boat uses a specific pod that is actually under a wing system known as the C pod that actually stays under the water and allows the boat to rise up out of the water and literally fly like a plane over the water. And it uses this to a great effect. And when I say great effect, I'm going to just show you something that's really cool. This is an actual picture of the pod, right? The other thing that they're touting about the C pod is it literally will last a lifetime without needing service, which automatically, if you've ever been around boats, near boats, or operated a boat, it's very expensive to maintain boats. Matter of fact, anytime you want to do something on the water in a marina or at home with a boat, it's generally 3 times what it would be, and it's probably on land or on wheels counterpart. It's way more expensive. One of the things that they have done here with this boat, though, in their systems that they've designed, is they've made it adaptable towards different environments by allowing the wings that fall under the boat to be adjustable. And while I'm just going to show you a couple of quick pictures of the boat, and then I'm going to kick it over to Corey. Here's a nice. This diagrams how the actual drive is made, which is it's counter rotating, which is fantastic. The actual boat itself has a roof option or no roof. It's a beautiful looking design. And while Corey takes the floor here, I'm going to just go through and let him take the floor and tell me what you think, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I saw this and wanted to divert to you a little bit, with this article because I'm not quite as much of a boat person as you. Obviously, I grew up around the ocean and on lakes and stuff. But again, not as into boats as yourself. So I wanted to have your opinion for the show. But as far as me coming in here, just my own opinion, it's very attractive design. I will say that again, this is a Scandinavian company, and since they unveiled the design for the C8, they had 60 units already sold. And to put that into perspective, other Scandinavian leading boat manufacturers of this size of boat, 28 feet or so, had sold 100 to 120 units per year. So they're already so other people that are into boats in an area of the world that is very much into watercraft and into electric power, for that matter, is also seeing how seems to like this design as well. So, and I did want to kind of mention that too, that while we see this kind of adoption of these kind of this particular type of boat, Scandinavia is very much forward-thinking into the electrification of their whole country there. So maybe not as surprising, but again to also say that they're very much into watercraft there. So maybe they do know they know what they're doing. So maybe not. Maybe that's some good indicators.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Well, here's the other thing: the boat has a range of about 50 nautical miles at high speed. All right, which is nice enough as it is. Says that it's got a 2-hour charging time and has a 50 nautical mile range when traveling at about 24 knots, which is great for boats. That's pretty much for a day boat. That's fantastic. You're not going to get 250, but then again, look, in order to fill up a boat with gas, usually you pay an extra $1.50 at the pump at the dock. And in some cases, just putting enough gas on board a boat can be a bill of almost $350, and that'll give you maybe 2 good weekends of use. Now, the other part of the design of this that's really, really versatile is they have the foiling mode, which is basically the high-speed mode, which allows this this boat to fly above water, right? And this is saying anything above 16 knots, high efficiency, longest range. Then they have the planing mode, which is for extreme wave heights and speeds up to 20 knots, and in reduced range, which actually brings the drive system down below, but it actually allows it to ride on the actual hull of the vehicle. Then they have the shallow mode, which protects the foils in the C pod, low speeds only, which I would imagine for docking and such. And then harbor mode, foil system is retracted above the waterline to eliminate risk of fouling on the front or aft foil systems, which means when it's sitting there at dock, boat not under use. Now, some of the things that I thought were really unique about the boat is that obviously you save some space. You don't have to have the, the inboard motor drive system there, which takes up a lot of room.
Yeah.
Having a small block V8 inside a boat, usually pretty sizable. The other part of it is that, it actually has a nice cabin in it, which I showed pictures of earlier, but I wish the cabin was a little bit bigger for all the space savings that you get on going electric. And the last thing would be, well, the range is ideal for day boat use. It might not be ideal as much for, say, weekend boaters, but I'm sure if you traveled for, say, an hour, got to your destination, were able to plug in, charge up, you'd be fine. And one of the other things, all the charging components, depending on the power that you had, maybe onshore or wherever you go, could be on the boat because it's not a car and space is not at a premium as much as carrying the space in
Right.
around. So yeah, there's that.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and the price here they say on the website 290,000
Mhm.
euros. I did a quick calculation as of right now. The video, or when we tape in the video, it's 336,000 US
Mhm.
dollars and change, of course. Remember also that doesn't include VAT, which is VAT, a tax that we don't have in America, but is over there. So it's a bit going to be more than that. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. Is that for a 28-foot boat, Mike? Is that about what you
It's a
think? To 336,000, or is that
It's
expensive?
a little
What are you thinking?
pricier, and I'm showing some video of one of their test bed models here with their hydrofoil system on board. That's a little pricier in the 28-foot range in some aspects that you can get a day boat, 28-footer. And here's the other thing that people will compare this to: used boat prices, right? Boats drop significantly in value after you've had them just for a couple of years in most cases. And like a lot of people say, the best way to waste money is to buy a boat. And it's a great loss, right? Usually. So yeah, the prices are fairly comparable. For the trade-off in range, no, it would definitely lose. Going up against its ice counterpart. The range on an ice counterpart is
Right.
usually about 250 nautical miles as compared to 50. However, again, you don't have the big
Right.
bill of
Yeah.
filling up at the pump, right? Which is big, which is sizable because the tanks on a boat usually of this size will get you about 7.5, 8 miles to the gallon. That's what you usually get. Because you're usually traveling at about maybe 35, 40 knots is the cruise for a 28 footer. They probably go up to 50 in most cases for a real performance version, but that's a little different. The one nice thing is this thing
Right.
has their hydrofoil system that actually has its autopilot system, which will smooth out the ride to its best ability to give you the best ride on the hydrofoils, which is neat.
Yeah. Best
Yeah, yeah.
range. Yeah. Yeah.
So cool enough. I want to see more about
Cool.
it. I want to
Yeah.
see what they get.
Yeah. I think it's quite
Yep.
interesting. For not being into boats as much as you are. Yeah, I like
Hey
it.
man, I'll take any boat at this point, but this one,
Ooh, man, any boat.
if it's got a motor and it's usable, don't just start, dragging boats, leaving them in my front yard, be like, hey, you said any boat. And it's like you literally dragged out
Any
of the
boat.
bottom of the river. No, don't want it. So, hey, folks, let us know what you think about the C8. Like, subscribe, follow. Let us know what your thoughts are. Do you have anything else to add to that one?
I'm
All
good,
right.
man. No thanks.
We'd like
I'm
to
good.
thank everybody for tuning in today, and we appreciate your time and energy, and we will look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take
Take
care,
it easy.
guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, man.
Okay,
Hey,
thanks.
thanks,
Bye.
Mike. Thank God the water's back on because I really have to go. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're out of here. Have a great weekend.